What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why I am getting Starfield. This is a video series I do where I talk about an upcoming game and just kind of run through my thoughts on it about a month or so out, whether I'm getting it, not getting it, or am somewhere in between kind of questioning it. And Starfield, oh, for sure, this is a game that I'll be getting. I think of the games that are coming out this fall, and I've ranked them before. I've ranked every, upcoming game from the second half of the summer, through the fall. And Starfield, I gotta say, is probably number 3, but it's not that far away from number 2 or number 1. And every passing day, I get more and more excited. I think about this game just when I'm walking around, if I'm cooking dinner and stuff. I kind of just drift off and think of Starfield. And honestly, more specifically, I think about just how many hours I feel like I'll lose to this game in a good way, right? How many hours I will be giving this game of my life. I'm kind of bought in. I've bought into the Todd Howard hype train. Now, look, I do it kind of with like hindsight being 2020. Like I know what Todd has said before. I know that many times he has misled, let's say, to maybe put it lightly. Not everything that he says always comes true, and obviously they've had some up and down times. Bethesda, as of late, Fallout 76, I absolutely despised that game, at least at launch, and I had no patience to really follow it through to when it got better, right? I was never really a fan of Fallout 4. I love New Vegas. I love Fallout 3. Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind. There's a lot that's really good in their backlog that I have played and I've really, really loved. It's not like my favorite genre, this huge RPG thing. It's not my go-to, but it's definitely like in my wheelhouse. I've played plenty games like this, and I'm just ready. Again, I'm ready to lose a lot of hours. I've talked about different elements. I think the community, and I mean like the Starfield community at large, I think they're going to kind of take over much more than I ever could in, say, like ship creating or the outpost creation, right? A lot of things that are very technical, and I mean they've even talked about with ship creation that it's actually supposed to kind of be a later game thing. You're not just supposed to immediately be able to craft these insane vessels, right? It's supposed to be harder. It's supposed to take a lot of resources. It looks like it's going to be a blast. I can't wait to try it, but try it very limited, right? How I view Starfield, I guess, is a couple things. I'm excited to explore as many planets as possible. Now, I'm still skeptical on the, dead planets, I guess, versus alive. And by alive, I mean those like very populated ones, the ones that they have crafted versus, I guess, what AI or just like, just auto creation of these planets. I'm still worried about it just in terms of the split, right? It's like 90-10 is basically the percentage of planets that are dead versus alive, or, they created versus they didn't create. I get it. I totally understand it. And I do think, hey, 100 planets that are livable kind of planets is still a ton. And I don't even know if I'd be able to visit all of those, let alone, say, even another 100 that aren't really as populated, right? It's going to probably come down to a feel with me going to these planets and saying, okay, I kind of like can feel this, like with the space thing. I mean, they've kind of talked about that, right? They're kind of mimicking real space where, yeah, you go to these planets in real life, and most of them, statistically, most of them would kind of be dead. Most of them you would just be getting resources. And as I've said before, you technically can populate them, right? You do your outposts, you link everything because resources can kind of come back and forth between your different outposts on different planets. You station people there. You can have ships and dock ships there and have people on those. You can't really populate an entire planet by yourself, let alone 900 of them, but you can make a couple planets, I think, feel more alive than they at least start out to be, right? But that's a small element of this. I'm excited for the actual story. I don't know much about the story. I know there was a leak a few years ago that basically spoiled the entire thing that I've relatively stayed away from. I did see some of it back in the day, and I didn't really care about it, but now I do care, and I'm trying to stay away from it now. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the companions. Just kind of those unlimited possibilities. And again, that gets people in trouble, when you talk about how many things can change depending on what you do. But I'm excited to see the companions and see the game change based off that, right? We saw a few examples when they did that Starfield Direct of, your persuasion, or if you're part of a certain class, or if you're smuggling people. Like there's just so many things that I feel like can happen in Starfield That's what I get excited for, because I'm going to have my own version of what happens, and then I'll be able to go online and you'll be able to see five, at least, I'm just saying like smaller numbers. I'm sure there'll be more, 5 different variations of, say, the same thing. Or if a different character had kind of different perks or different traits or whatever, how they handled a situation versus how I handled it. Or, and oftentimes I do this with either episodic games or games like this, I actually don't really even mind or care about what other people choose in these games. I do my own thing. I kind of make that canon, and then I kind of ignore everything else, right? Like I tell my story, and that's what happened, and it doesn't really matter what anybody else did. What makes it cool as a game is that other people can have other things happen. The gunplay, I'm kind of just assuming is going to be tolerable. I'm not expecting like the greatest thing of all time. This does come from the makers of Elder Scrolls and Fallout and all that, and none of those games have really revolutionized literal like hand-to-hand combat or guns or anything like that. This does look the most fluid of any of those games, so I do get excited about that, but I'm not expecting much. Again, for me, it's kind of to just get lost in this universe, meet some new characters, get deep into the stories, see the differences, or kind of know that there will be differences between what I do in the game and then what other people are going to do, and then just get lost, just lose many hours of my life doing side quests, main quests, building outposts, finding all these planets, all these resources. I think I can lose a lot of time to this game, and I'm excited. This is, again, well, it's number one, it definitely is the game of September at least, right? It's, again, my top 3. In case you guys are wondering, my top 2 is Spider-Man is number 2, and Alan Wake 2 is actually my number 1, if that surprises people. It actually shouldn't, because I've said it before, but those are my top 2. But Starfield has basically a full month. I will be playing Mortal Kombat and stuff, but ultimately, any game that comes out within like a month of Starfield, I'll play for like a couple days. I'll go in and out of it, but I'll always return, right? Starfield is like the main game, and everything else kind of swaps in and out. And that's kind of how I'm going to operate for at least the first month, maybe even further. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll be covering the game more often as the weeks go on. Got a lot of video ideas before the game comes out, and then even when the game comes out. So there'll be a lot more Starfield videos on the channel. Make sure you subscribe, bell icon turned on. If you want to follow me anywhere else, all my links for our other YouTube channels, for our Discord, Twitter, and anything else is in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.